something on it. Tell everybody
I got a verse.
exactly what he did for you.
Heal my body. Told me to run on. Heal my body.
And he told
me to run on. Heal my body. Told me to run on. He's my friend. He's my friend.
Can't nobody do me.
He's my friend. He's my friend.
He's my friend.
When you need a friend.
Now let's see it like this. He picked me.
And he turned me. He picked me up.
Turn me around. He picked me up and turned me around.
I'm telling you, he's my friend.
Can't nobody.
He's my friend.
Come on, say it. Can't nobody.
Nobody knows.
Try to through thick and thin.
He's my
He is.
friend.
I searched a lot of places, but I still came up empty. You know what? I can't find nobody. Since I ain't know nobody like you, Lord.
Let me testify. Can't find nobody. I tried a lot of things, and there is none I know. You've been my keeper, my redeemer. Nobody like you, Lord. Yeah. You've been everything to me. You've been everything to me. Nobody like you. Searching far and wide, couldn't find nobody. Searching far and wide, couldn't find nobody. Yeah, I tried and I tried. There is nobody, nobody.
I searched high, I couldn't find
nobody like you. Nobody like you.
Not one, not one. Not one, not one. Couldn't find nobody. Yes, he's my friend.
Yes, he is. Oh, he's my friend.
He is.
Trying for myself, and I know that he is my friend.
Do it. I dare y'all. I dare y'all. Hold up.
I will bless you as long as I live.
I will bless you as long as I live.
In your name, I'll lift up my
In your
hand.
name, I'll lift up my hand.
I will bless you as long as I live.
I will bless you as long as I live.
In your name, I'll lift up my
In your
hands.
name,
Come on,
I'll
lift your
lift
hands.
up my hand.
I will bless you as long as I live.
I will bless you as long as I live.
In your name, I'll lift up my
In
hands.
your name, I'll lift up my hand.
I will bless you as long as I live.
I will bless you as long as
Yeah.
I live.
In your name, I'll lift up my
In
hands.
your name, I'll lift up my hand.
So I have looked upon you in the sanctuary, beholding your power and
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 107.9 FM, W300EB, Macon, and WDDO 980 AM, Perry. Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine. Ask Elaine, better ask Elaine.
Good afternoon. Welcome once again to Ask Elaine. Um, this is your voice, Elaine Lucas, welcoming you to the show. We're so happy that you've chosen to visit with us for this hour today. As you know, every Wednesday we're here on historic WDDO, and we bring you information that you need to know so that you become smarter and you can share that information with everybody else. We're happy to have those of you who've joined us on AM, those who are on FM, and hopefully, I don't see a picture or anything up here, but I didn't touch anything. Hopefully, those who've joined us on the Glory Live. So, um, yesterday was election day for Commission District 5. There were two uh, candidates in the runoff, and those candidates were Andrea Cook and Mr. Ed Foster. And I tell you, if there's an election where nobody voted, I tell you, nobody. Yeah, there were about 1,000 who voted. And we're going to talk to our analyst, uh, Patrick, in a little bit. And he's going to kind of look at the numbers and tell us what he knows about the numbers and what happened in that race, and give us his unique perspective on that. It was a disappointing number, I have to say. And welcome, Cheryl Grayer. We're glad to have you on. Hopefully, we'll have the others who usually join Ask Elaine on in the chat. And if there are comments or questions that you have, please either put them in the chat or you can call us at 478-250-1444. Now, I was talking about the election on yesterday. Prior to that, there was early voting time. You always can vote absentee. In the last few hours, I don't think Trump has canceled that out, so you can still vote by mail. And then, of course, on election day, you go to your polling place, your neighborhood polling place, and cast your ballot. There was only one race on that ballot because it was the runoff, and there were only two people to choose from. We've got to work. We've got a lot of work to do to get, and I hope you can hear the disappointment in my voice at the numbers of people who chose not to vote. And that's getting to be a pattern. Communities like ours are disadvantaged. There are plots and schemes in place to keep us from voting, and we we play right into those plots and schemes. And those of us who have no reason not to vote, we don't go and vote. But we'll um, look forward to talking to Patrick Davis in just a little bit, and we're going to go over some things. We want to, as always, thank our sponsors. And those of you, either the candidates or others in the community, businesses that would like to help sponsor Ask Elaine, we certainly appreciate any sponsorships that we can get in any amount. We do appreciate that. But this is your talk and information program, and we're going to be here. We've been here, been doing the program for 10 years. And as far as I can tell, we're going to continue doing that. Um, want to announce once again that the next series of elections are coming up. Those will be May 19th. But guess what? There's early voting. Early voting starts April 27th. April 27th. So we are going to be hosting each week two candidates for different offices. Overseer Mabel Randall, good afternoon. It's good to see you. I'm sorry I missed your program this week. We were working, we were working, or we were in the doctor's office. So it's good to have you on. Thank you so much. She lost her husband not too long ago, and she has just thrown herself in. She was already busy, and she's continuing to be busy and do things for other folks. She is one of our super supporters at EL High School and donates certain items to the school on a monthly basis, and we do appreciate her very, very much. That enables some students to go far to finish their high school diploma. And we would encourage others to support students who are, just trying to get over this hump. We want to welcome Dorothy Ellis Ridley. She's the one of the folks who's kept the A. Philip Randolph Institute going. The event, the banquet, and all of that, and awards will be coming up very soon. And Dorothy, I apologize. I have not gotten you the information that I promised you, but I will be doing that, and we'll be getting tickets to attend that great event. Carlton Kitchens is with us, and he says that it's sad that District 5 didn't come out. Carlton supported Ed Foster, and there were some valiant workers. And this kind of election, we want to congratulate Andrea Cook on her election as the commissioner for District 5. And so you folks have been complaining and carrying on about the other commissioner didn't do anything. Let's see what you require of your new commissioner. You've got another one in place now. So just make sure that you hold anybody who runs and is elected, you hold their feet to the fire. Janelle Mathis, good afternoon to you. Dorothy Ridley says Saturday at 5 p.m. is the A. Philip Randolph Institute event. Oh my. These schedules, for those of you who say there's nothing to do in Macon, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. There are a lot of things to do in Macon. People just choose not to do them. But I choose to take advantage of the many opportunities in the community. And so you need to do that too. I was talking about our sponsors. We want to thank all of those who help to keep the program going. And so we look forward to others helping as well. Pastor Lisa is on with us. Hello to you. Um, and as always, she shares so much with us during the program. We just want to thank all of you for being loyal. If you have comments or questions, our call-in number is 478-250-1444. Dorothy adds that the A. Philip Randolph Institute event banquet will be at the Douglas Theater on Saturday at 5 p.m. So you are invited to come and take part and be reminded of people who paved the way for all of us. So thank you all. Carlton, we'd like to hear a little bit more from you. So if you'll call us, we'd appreciate that. 478-250-1444. We do expect a special guest, one of the candidates who will be running in the May 19th election. And let me remind you that if you're a Democrat, make sure that you designate the fact that you are a Democrat, because then you will get the Democratic races that will be on the ballot as well as the nonpartisan. Okay? If you're a Republican, then you will designate that when you go in and present your ID. And you will get the Republican candidates that are vying against each other. You'll vote in those races, and you also will vote in the nonpartisan. But if you're neither party, neither Democrat or Republican, you can just simply vote in the nonpartisan races. So, but by all means, vote. When Patrick gets on here, he's gonna talk about that terrible percentage of folks who turned out. And until we get him on here or our guest arrives, the information that I have shows that the turnout was 5.90%. That's about 6%. And in that district, there are 17,944 registered voters. Let me say that again, 17,944 voters in Commission District 5. Of that number, there were 1,059 who voted. 1,059 out of 17,944, which means that there was a 5.90, just roughly rounding it off, a 6% voter participation out of 17,944. More people should take part in elections. That is how there are people who maintain office that aren't looking out for you. And so if you don't go, their assumption is, well, you like what's happening to you. And you must like what's happening to you because a 6% turnout. We, of all people, need to be voting every time there's an election. And I know those of you who have tuned in are probably all registered. As a matter of fact, the names of people that I see in the chat are all registered. They all participate in every election. They encourage their family and friends and everybody to participate in all elections. And I know we've had quite a few this year so far, and we've got a few more to go. But I mean, so what? So what? Our future depends on, and the quality of our lives depends on whether we exercise the right to vote. And I hope we remember that there are some people who are actively working every single day of their lives to take away your right to vote. If you're Black, brown, female, a child, an elder person, all of those categories, those folks are actively working to keep you from voting. There's an act that Trump is pushing called the SAVE Act, and it's intended to disenfranchise millions of people, keep millions of people from voting. Luckily, this has been held up. It has not passed, but he's actively pushing that. He wants no more mail in voting, yet he votes by mail, which shows that there's some people that are working against all of us who have no feelings at all, no compassion for, and no respect for the rights of all citizens. Under the SAVE Act, there's a requirement. One of the requirements would be that you present a passport or an up-to-date or current birth certificate. Well, when I was born, I was Elaine Huckabee. I am now Elaine Huckabee Lucas. So my name as it is now does not match with my original birth certificate. So tell me how I correct that. And many of you who are out there, how many people have a passport unless you're one of these who travels a lot? Hello, Randy Crawford. We're glad to have you and glad to have everybody else who's tuned in to Ask Elaine. This is your weekly talking information program with your voice, Elaine Lucas, just telling it like it is. You probably can tell I'm a little disappointed. I'm always disappointed when the turnout is so low, is low in races that are very, very important. Every elected official, every position is important because those votes sit in your place and vote in favor or against things that you need, that you want. And so Dorothy says, people, we got to do better about reaching out and encouraging our churches to get involved. The primary and midterm are coming fast. We can do better in this community. We really can, and we really should. Macon Bibb is, I believe it's 57 plus Black population. And there is no excuse for there not to be a majority of Black elected officials in each of the elected bodies that we have in our community. No excuse at all. We're competent, we're capable. We just need some folks who are motivated and who know that they will get support of enough folks to be elected to office. Commissioner Dennis Bryant is with us. Hello. It's good always to have you on. And you're talking about somebody working. She worked really, really hard. We have a caller. Welcome to Ask Elaine.
Good afternoon, Elaine. How you doing?
Doing just fine. This is Patrick.
This is Patrick. How you doing? Yes.
Patrick, welcome to Ask Elaine. I had told everybody that we were hoping to get you on because we want to hear your take, first of all, on the election, the one that culminated yesterday.
Of course. Well, I mean, I think you correctly kind of summarized it. I guess the word is disappointing. And even though Miss Andrea Cook did win, she got enough votes to win in this election. But if you look at the big picture, when you have thousands of voters not participating, thousands of Black voters not participating, that sends, I think, a bigger message out there. And unfortunately, it's apathy. We talk about we want have things change in our community, but the only way we can get change is if we participate. And when we don't have that participation, we don't have we won't be able to get the best results. And so when you have like single digit turnout, especially in majority Black precincts like the Godfrey 1 precinct over also about Anthony Road, the Ballard Hudson precinct, when you have lower turnout, when you have virtually single-digit number of voters not participating on streets like Napier Avenue and
Mhm.
Hillcrest, it's disappointing. But also, I think we have to talk about the Board of Elections as well. Even though yes, the voter ultimately would need to come out and participate, but we're not getting a lot of help from the Board of Elections, in my opinion.
Well,
And
you are right.
I mean, there was a lot of stuff that's going on that has been unresolved, and District 5 is one of the most gerrymandered, complex districts in Bibb County. There are multiple streets in which one side of the street is in one district and another side of the street is another district. And then in some cases, one side of the street, I think is one example is Neal Street. One side of the street is votes at the Professional Learning Center. The other side of the street votes at the first, I think, Christian church
I
on
think
Vine.
they've changed they're changing First Christian, but that's the
Right.
polling. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And then another example is Cortland Avenue, in which one block of Cortland votes at Ballard Hudson, and then another votes at Glorious Hope on Napier
Right.
Avenue.
Right.
So
And that's a
we have all
long way. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so it's just confusion, and I think this is what some folks want. I think at the election office, they want this confusion, and they're not willing to help out. They're not willing to put forth press releases, community, to kind of help educate. That's their role. That's what they should be,
Right.
educating,
That's
helping
right.
educate. But they're just kind of like just standing in the background doing nothing. So that is disappointing. And heading into election day, there were 3,200 likely Black voters who had not participated up to that point. And these, when I say likely, these are voters that they participated back in November 2024 in the presidential election, but they chose not to participate in this up to that point in the local election in District 5.
Mhm.
So why is this in your opinion? Why is it just this disconnect? We vote, we prioritize the presidential races election, but when it gets to the local level, we just kind of check out.
Well, I think one of the things is that I know there's a lot of disappointment among a lot of voters. A lot of folks are working hard and just trying to make a living. So the daily grind of just living, keeping your children, going and all of this, I know that. But I still cannot put my finger on the reason for people who are having health care cut, who are having food cut and taken away from, who can't get decent housing, who aren't respected by their national, state, or local government. All of those things should be reasons for you to make sure that you exercise your right to vote. We want to welcome George Thomas, who is a candidate for House District 142. Good afternoon to you. And Dorothy Ridley reminds us that voter education is very important. And it is just, I think there are a number of reasons, Patrick. One of those I just mentioned. I am searching, trying to figure it out because I don't miss elections. And so I guess I figure everybody else is supposed to be that way as well about elections. And I know that there are a lot of people who feel that same way, but there are not enough of us. And we
Right.
want to
What?
welcome Ricky Crawford to
Yes.
Ask Elaine.
I do
But
have a theory, Elaine. I do have
go
a theory.
ahead, tell us what your theory is.
And I think it kind of goes back to the beginning of when consolidation started to kind of take hold here in Bibb County. And the Republicans were very, along with a few Democrats, but mostly Republicans. They were the ones who were pushing this way back in
That's right.
2012 and 13 in regard to not just reconstructing our government and also, in terms of trying to break, I guess, we had a majority black 15-member Macon City Council. At that time, they were successful in turning into a county commission. But I think one thing that people might miss is the calendar. People are used to voting in November. We used to
Right.
have Macon City elections in November, right?
That's
And
right.
then when the calendar changed to the spring, I don't think people caught up to that. They just so we're just more connected with November and when the presidential election happens, and unfortunately at this point, the only thing that can change that is if we have local legislation, maybe to amend that. Now I know you mentioned George Thomas Jr. is on the line and
Right.
listening, and would he propose changing the calendar back to November as part of local legislation?
Well, we're going to have him on very soon, and he can answer that question whether he favors. You got to go and change the charter, because when people voted to approve the charter, the main reason was to disenfranchise black voters, to diminish black voting strength. That was the major reason for consolidation. And you are right. There were some Republicans, a lot of them, um, who saw a growing black population, but you also had some black folks who went along with that and actively pushed the consolidation. It won by a few votes. It wasn't a huge margin of victory, but one vote more than the other, that's a victory. And in that situation, we ended up losing all the way around, and not just us but poor folks, in addition to younger folks and to our senior citizens. We all lost, because not only did we change the form of government and eliminate a number of black elected officials, but they also changed the district lines to favor Republicans. They also changed the partisan elections, where you could at least get an idea of where somebody was by them designating their party. But under consolidation, you've got quite a few who now run and act like they're Democrats or talk like they're Democrats, but they're actually Republicans. And once they get in office, they vote the Republican talking points. Uh, Water Board is nonpartisan, but you've got 5 Republicans there that vote according to what the Republicans feel about you and me. School board, majority white. You've got all of these other boards and authorities that end up misrepresenting the majority of the people in this community, but they could not do it unless we let them. We let them do this to us time after time after time. Wade Horton has joined us. Hello to you. That's Mr. Macon Transit. and he's working as hard as he can to keep them from cutting out all the bus services. You know, they cut the bus lines, some of the bus lines. I didn't hear anybody say a word, not one word. George
And you,
Thomas has answered Patrick. He says, I'm in favor of November elections as well as same day voter registrations. So that's good to hear. And when we have him on, he can talk more about this particular thing. His opponent, Miriam Paris, was one of the elected officials who supported consolidation and brags about that support. It just,
and
it,
change
it
and
just,
changing the calendar and
and
changing the
changing the
calendar.
calendar and going after those of us who were Black and elected officials in Macon Bibb County. Yeah, she, Nikki Randall, and James Beverly all were a part of the push for the consolidation, and they were very happy to do it. We'll talk again on another program about what they got out of it,
Mhm.
what they got as a result of their support for consolidation. But anybody who sees that there are problems in the community, and we've got a lot of good things going in this community, but there is still a lack of representation of the underserved, and that came with consolidation. After the consolidation proposal passed here, uh, they the folks over in Milledgeville, Baldwin County, attempted to consolidate, but those folks used our example of the uh, detrimental impact on our community. They use that to defeat consolidation of Baldwin County and Milledgeville, and a number of other areas have used the detrimental effects of consolidation on Macon Bibb County to beat back consolidation efforts in their areas. Consolidation is the new segregation. That's one of those tools used to continue segregation. So yeah, I'm just very upset that only 5.90% of folks registered to vote in Commission District 5. Only less than 6% went to vote. Yeah. Pastor Lisa said that lets you know they were not voting in Blacks and Dems' best interest. You're absolutely right. We still are a majority Black chocolate city, according to Pastor Lisa, but we must go vote. You're absolutely right. Um, Patrick, tell us what you see that needs to be done as far as you go back to the Board of Elections. And we know
Well,
that
I think.
our Board of
Mhm.
Elections is made up of 5 people, 2 Democrats sent by the Democratic Party, 2 Republicans who are sent by the Republican Party. And then there's supposed to be like a nonpartisan person. And the uh, mayor, the Board of Elections makes a recommendation to the county as to who that 5th person should be. And then there is a vote to put that person in place or not. Um, so
And they
that's
also
how
have,
you
I
get your
guess,
Board of Elections.
right. And I guess one of the small details in the consolidation law or charter that really did not get much attention at the time was the mayor's role in regard to choosing an election supervisor or having a role in it. At the time, Janetta Watson, everybody remember Janetta Watson?
Right.
She was the first African American to be
Board of
election supervisor
Elections.
here,
Yeah, yeah.
right, for the Board of Elections. And at the time, of course, Janetta was she was a county official, right?
Right.
She was a county official, so she was not impacted by the consolidation law. So she did not leave that position. So she stayed there. So everything was all right, I guess. There was no contention with her and maybe Robert Rickard during his time in office. However, shortly after Lester Miller got in office, I think things started to change. And I think pressure, from my standpoint, pressure was kind of put on her and other people in the election office to do things a certain way that Lester wanted it. And I don't think it was a coincidence when she abruptly retired or resigned back in early 2022. She held a press conference. This was and said that she was being followed home. And when I hear some of those types of details, people may remember what happened shortly after the election of Donald Trump. Election of Joe Biden, when he won Georgia, and Donald Trump got upset, about, well, there's stuff going on in the Atlanta area, and they started going after a mother and daughter who worked at an election office up in the Atlanta area, and that was associated with Rudy Giuliani. Did that happen here in Macon with Janetta Watson?
Yeah, she was harassed. She didn't go public with a lot of the stuff that happened to her. And I found out that there were so many things that happened to her to intimidate her, and many Republicans were behind a lot of the harassment
Precisely. Yes.
she endured.
Yes. Well, why?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, yes. And the the state of Georgia did not do anything about it. The GBI did not do anything about it. Really, it should have been a federal case, in my opinion.
It should have been.
This is one of the things that this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it should have been. Carlton Kitchens adds that districts 5 and 9 are two of the most important districts that's been brought out and controlled to keep blacks down. But Carlton, I agree with you, but we got to get out and vote. There's nothing keeping us from getting out to vote. And we've got voter protection. Right. So those of you who ever feel like that you're being intimidated, that anything is being done to you to keep you from exercising your right to vote, you need to call some of us that will help you to maintain your right to vote. Marshall Talley, who is presently a candidate for Water Board District 2 to replace Desmond Brown, says, as a current candidate and someone who has spent years organizing get out the vote initiatives, yesterday was very disheartening. My personal goal is to focus on civic education and engagement amongst our youth. Mr. Talley and I are going to have a talk. I've already had a conversation with him, and I can't tell folks what to do. But it is not a good look, Mr. Talley, when Gary Bechtel, who is one of the worst, most hate-filled person and disrespectful person on that as chair of the water board, when you meet with him, and he is one of the ones pushing you to run for the water board. Now, I don't know, your platform and everything looks good, sounds good, some of the same things that I'm concerned about, but it bothers me that Gary Bechtel would be supporting you for District 2. So when you come on the program, which I hope will be real soon, because the election's right around the corner. Early voting starts April 27th, y'all. Count them up. April 27th. You have those days of early voting, and then the election is May 19th. So we don't have too long to thresh through this stuff and see what candidates are for real and which ones are not for real. So I hope that once I finish this program that Mr. Talley will be, well, he's supposed to drop out of school in a little while. And we're going to talk. And if in fact somebody who has been as disrespectful and non-caring and abusive as Gary Bechtel is behind somebody running, don't come my way. Don't come my way. So that's all I'm going to say on that. This is the program where you get it. I'm just going to tell it like it is. I am tired of folks taking us for granted. I am tired of us sitting around taking it. I am tired of these figures of less than a 6% turnout in a district that has 18,000 voters. That is ridiculous. That's how people are able to continue with their foot on your neck when you won't push it off with your vote. And I'm gonna go to some of these other folks who got. Carlton says, I honestly agree with you, and many don't really know what district that they live in, and that is correct. And Patrick, I agree with you that the Board of Elections needs to get off their behinds, and they need to do a better job of informing people. When there's a change in their voting site, they send people out a plain white envelope that looks like junk mail. And I've suggested a bright colored envelope with voter information or something, large, huge, bold on the envelope to this time. And I've suggested it 3 or 4 times.
And I think we
To
also have
me,
to ask
that
the
makes
question.
just simple little things that they could do. They
Right.
could be out there with news conferences every other day. They're not prohibited from doing that, but they think
Right. But
all
they
they
don't
have to
want to
do
do
is
that.
go meet.
They
Well,
don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They want the confusion. They and this will impact mostly Black voters. And there's the situation with the Board of Elections at the Macon Mall, and then the situation with the lack of ADA, in
Yeah.
terms of folks who might have a tougher
Now,
time.
Patrick, I do have to tell you that because some of us have regularly attended the Board of Elections meetings,
Mhm.
and we've time after time after time, we've talked about the lack of handicap accessibility. That is a long, long walk from the parking lot into the Board of Elections for people. So they did put in golf carts. And I think that's going to be a
What
fixture
do we
from
have?
now
What if
on.
they have longer? What if we have longer lines? I mean, more people coming. 1 or 2 golf carts isn't really going
Right.
to.
You're
Especially next
absolutely
month.
right.
I mean,
That's a good, that's a
that's a band
start.
aid. That's a band aid. This has been a long issue. This has been a big issue for a couple of years, not a couple of months, but a couple
I
of years.
mentioned it 2 years ago when we took the first tour out there of the Board of Elections, and I was not sick then. And I said, golly, this is a long way. And they said they were going to do something about it, but they were so busy with the pickleball and all of the other stuff until they didn't do anything about it.
But the thing about it is, this is, I bring up the so-called independence of the Board of Elections. I mean, who is in control of the Board of Elections? I mean, if this is an issue, why haven't not the supervisor, but the Board of Elections, the members, So what is Tom Ellington saying about this? What is the other person on who represents Democrats are saying about this? What is Mr. Kaplan saying about this? But if the Democratic members aren't really advocating and about the problems, out there, then maybe they should be replaced. Maybe Tom Ellington should be replaced. Maybe he isn't doing his job. He needs to be replaced.
Well, now,
I think
I tell you that can be done.
He needs to be replaced.
And what I need to do is to get the 2 Democrats and the nonpartisan to go. I know where the Republicans stand. They don't want anybody to vote other than white men Republicans. That's all they want to vote. Let me read these comments. I'm getting hot up in here. Carlos McLeod, who is also a candidate for, I believe it's District 8 of the school board. He's a retired educator. He's a minister, and I just lost his comment. His comment is, "We must push everyone to fight for their rights at the ballot box. That's where the fight begins," and he's absolutely right. Pastor Lisa says this is why the Evangelical Ministers Alliance, and I have to add NAACP, they continue to have forums, town hall meetings, and we've got to start meeting with our legislative delegation before December or before they go into session. Around September is when we need to start meeting with them, because in November and December they're getting ready to go into the session, and the big time lobbyists have already gotten a hold of them and have tied up their time with appointments trying to get their issues on the table in front of the legislators. So
Elaine,
we
Elaine,
need, yes.
let me ask this question. I know you said you read a comment from Carlos McLeod, and of course he's running for the school board, one of the at-large seats, along with
Nola
McFadden. And
and
if he's listening right now, I have a question about the school board, and there's going to be some town hall meetings next week. And the issue of potentially rezoning and other things are on the table. And of course, our public school system is 90% non-white, 80% black, 90% non-white. So, but as you mentioned earlier, 5 of the 8 members right now are white, mostly conservative leaning. Lester.
Patrick, are you still there? I think Patrick, you're going in and out. We've got one comment that people are. Go ahead, Patrick.
I'm sorry. Yes, I had just a quick question for Mr. McLeod, if he's listening, and Miss McFadden out there as well. What are your thoughts about the QBE and changing the QBE? It's I feel it's an outdated formula that first started back in 1985. Do they feel that changing the QBE might be a helpful in terms of indirectly reducing the need for rezoning, by lessening the local property tax burden and kind of stabilizing school district funding?
Okay, we'll look for a response from them. Don Druitt says we will have an African American mayor in 2028. So I hope we quit talking about a third term. Yeah. Kimberly Gray Harmon has joined us. Yes, ma'am. Wade says that he's been attending the Macon Water Authority board meetings, and he can honestly say that Desmond Brown and yours truly have been fighting for the customers of the Macon Water Authority. They are the only ones. I hope whoever joins the authority will continue that effort. And y'all have got to make sure, and I guess people will say it doesn't matter how somebody got in the race or who supports them to be in the race, but it is suspicious to me when the racist chair of the water board talks with someone about entering the race and gives them the paperwork that they need to file. That's kind of strange to me. But anyway, that's just me. Dorothy Ridley's very true. We had a community forum at the Douglas. Senator Lucas, Mayor Ellis, Commissioner Elaine, and others had asked the community not to consolidate the city. However, the city officials' efforts were stronger in pushing consolidation. She says that we need to listen to our elected officials who work for the betterment of our community. The churches were involved during the civil rights and voter rights era in 64 and 65. The community leaders, um, pastors, and elected officials need to come to the table and strategize to turn this community around. People are working against us, and we have got to come together in this community to make changes. Our representation does not reflect our population. We can do better and recruit. And so, thank you, Dorothy Ellis Ridley, for that. And you're absolutely right. Charlia Foster, my church member and a youth director, she says we have to vote. Absolutely. That's the bottom line. Kimberly posted NAACP. NAACP, if you're not a member, you can't help them with pushing their agenda because they don't have the resources to fight with. So join the NAACP, join in with these candidates that you support, and make sure that we get the right people in place. And it's not about somebody who's outspoken, who's not, who's this and that, but you don't want to put the wrong person in place. And right now, there are people who are getting support from some strange places, and they're getting not only motivational support, but they're getting financial support to run for these offices. So, we've got to match that by overworking, by making sure that we work harder, that we support some folks. And if there's somebody who's talking, big and bad about running for mayor and all of this sort of stuff, you need to be showing up now. And you need to be talking about it now. And you need to be doing something now. If you're up and talking and in the picture and not doing anything, that's not going to help. That's not going to help us. We want to see your actions now that will lead us to a more representative community. And
Elaine, it's going to probably take an estimated 20,000 votes to win the mayor's race 2 years from now in the spring.
Yeah.
So hopefully, that's that hasn't happened since consolidation. Really, of course, Rickard and Lester Miller had, were in that range of 18, 19, 20,000. But there are 60,000 actively registered Black voters here in Macon Bibb.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should be able to get 25, 28,000, but
we should. Donis Bryant, Commissioner Bryant, says Black people were outvoted yesterday about 10-1. The end of early voting, there were about 300 people who had voted.
Right. There were about 300 people,
and the other 700 voted on election day. 736 voted on yesterday on election day, and there were 300 advance, 23 absentee by mail, for a total of 1,059 out of 17,944.
64%, Elaine, of the early vote did come from mostly Black voters, mostly non-white minority voters. However, on election day, it appears it was the reverse, in which 2/3 of the election day voters were mostly white.
Okay, well, either we want it or we don't. Either we want political power, because sitting fussing about it doesn't do anything. You got a faith without works. That's my sermon for today, and that's all. Like Forrest Gump said, that's all I got to say about that.
But the thing about
So,
it is, Elaine, we have a chance. We have a chance, every couple of years to kind of change the narrative, the political narrative. So it's kind of like in sports. The home team might not win, but you have a chance the next week or the
yeah,
next year. You know, so it's disappointing, but we got to stay encouraged. We can't afford to give up. We can't.
right.
We got to keep fighting. And keep trying to find new ways to reach out to the voters because it's worth it.
Right, right. Dr. Butler is with us. Welcome. She says it shouldn't make a difference. Everyone needs to vote in spite of any hindrances. People just don't care until it hits them over the head. And you are right. People were fussing and carrying on when they were messing with SNAP and when they were messing with, and they should be continuing to fuss now that the Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare, that has been messed with. A lot of people have been dropped off. They can't pay it. They can't afford it. And so I don't know what it's going to take. There is a system being put in place, and you think they're messing with the immigrants. They've been putting black folks in jail all the time. That's a way where it used to be slavery is a prison pipeline now, fed by young black men. And so we've got a lot of challenges. It doesn't do us any good to just sit and fuss about it. We have got to do something about it. Patrick, what would be your advice? Um, what would be your advice to people who really want to see a change in the community?
Well, I mean,
Patrick?
I guess, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, can. Well, first, um, I guess join the NAACP, join the Democratic Party. Uh, uh, I mean, there are things that we can do, but we have to prepare. I think as a community, as a Democratic Party, I think we have to prepare. We just had an election, and this is not the time to have a letdown. This is the time to strategize. Republicans,
right,
they're
right.
strategizing. They've always strategized.
That's
You
right.
know, I mean, decades ago when you had that when we had that 15-member Macon City Council and they had the county commission, Republicans were trying to find ways to
That's right.
infiltrate.
Because you had a
And
majority black board, county commission, and a
yeah,
majority black city council. And they were determined that that was too many black folks in leadership.
right.
And now we turn around and we've got folks who think that we need to change out our experience. Well, I mean, what? Let's not shoot ourselves in the foot. Patrick, uh, we have 2 minutes left. And I want to remind people that we have some real serious elections. We will have sample ballots. I think they're available. We're going to go by the Board of Elections. We'll have them at EL High School Academy. The Democratic Party will have them as well. And what we want you to do is, one, check your voter status to make sure you're still active. Check with the Board of Elections to make sure you're voting in the right place. And then if you need help with your sample ballot and you want to get one to take to church, to your neighbors, to whomever it is that you'd like to empower, please get in touch with us. We will be glad to provide those and some also, we will give you information on the different candidates. We've got judgeships, we've got water board, we've got school board, we've got a whole lot of elections. U.S. Senate race, that's another one.
Governor?
We've got governor. We've got a lot of them. And next week we're going to go one by one through these elections, this ballot, and we're going to tell you who's running. So, Patrick, thank you so very much. I guess our guest didn't make it off of the highway coming from Atlanta, but we'll have that person on at a later time very soon. So thank you for tuning in for Ask Elaine. I'm a very disappointed person, but we'll see you next week.